We want to congratulate AMD on 30 years in graphics. Happy birthday, guys.
Hi, I'm Josh Barzak, Graphics Engineering Lead for Civilization. Congratulations on 30 epic years in graphics.
I'm John Klutzley, Principal Graphics Programmer on Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth. Congratulations, AMD.
I'd like to congratulate AMD for 30 years of graphic innovation. From everyone here at the studio, way to go, guys.
Hi, I'm Chris Kingsley from Rebellion, CTO. Congratulations to AMD on 30 years of graphics innovation.
Congratulations to AMD on 30 years of making amazing products that our gamers love.
Thank you for what you bring to all the gamers all over the world. Thank you.
AMD! Awesome, awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for that. Welcome to sunny Austin, Texas. Saturday, 23rd of August, 9 a.m. in the morning. We have an exciting hour and a half lined up for you. Thank you, everyone who's joined us here in the studio. You guys are completely mad, and we very much appreciate that. Thank you, everyone on Twitch TV. We're hopeful of being joined by a few tens of thousands of folks out there. That's great. I am Richard Huddy. I have the delightful job title of AMD's Chief Gaming Scientist, which is a real treat, I have to say. And we're here today to celebrate 30 years of graphics and gaming at AMD. AMD is actually 45 years old today, this year. ATI would have been 30 years old as well. So, you know, we're looking at the gaming history here through this last 30 years, looking at what we've been putting together. In 1985, for example, if we go back all those years ago, I'm sure we all remember 1985, yeah? Maybe not all of us, but I have the pleasure of remembering 1985. AMD produced its first graphics card, which could do a staggering four colors, just an astonishing 4 colors. 2 of them had to be black and white, a bit limited. And then if you're lucky, you could get 2 shades of gray in between. That's not bad, is it? These days, we're a little bit better than that. I have to say, around the same kind of time, I started playing Asteroids. I don't know if you guys remember the original Asteroids machine. I spent so much of my life playing that game, and it's actually why I got into gaming in a real business sense. It's why I got into gaming. Love that game. And it was just in black and white. There's a little joke coming here. It's just in black and white. You know the best thing about Asteroids? Never got a blue screen of death. You guys are a far too generous audience. I was expecting Tumbleweed to blow past and General Silence and so on. These days, of course, we do a lot better than 2 or 4 colors. The latest graphics cards that we do no less than 1 billion colors, yeah? This is my Austin Powers moment. Now, because I have the privilege of being AMD's Chief Gaming Scientist, that means I get to do some fairly crazy stuff. And one of the things we're going to be doing is playing with liquid nitrogen today. Now, I'm just going to settle this on the side. This is liquid nitrogen. Please don't pick it up and do anything silly with it, because we will really regret how things are going then. But I'm going to take you through some of the stuff that's going to go on today. In particular, we've got 3 little processes which are running alongside this event. So we have a Twitter contest. Yeah, we would invite you to take a picture of your viewing party, assuming those of you at home are having viewing parties. This is probably not for the folks in the audience, unless you're very connected. Take a picture of the viewing party, include the live stream, use the hashtag AMD30Live, tweet it to @AMDRadeon, and at the end of the contest, we will give out 3 prizes for the 3 coolest pictures. And really, it's not for folks in the audience here, so don't worry about that. We'll choose the ones we like most. It's pretty arbitrary. Most of the pictures you see on the internet are cats these days, so maybe we'll end up with loads and loads of pictures of cats watching the live stream. Who knows? But we will be giving to the 3 winning pictures a new graphics card, which will be pretty exciting. I'll give you more info on that as we get to the end of the contest. Second thing that we're running in parallel is an ice bucket challenge. Now, obviously, this is the moment where I say, you know, AMD's chief gaming scientist, we like to do proper ice bucket challenges. Most people would be thinking about a bucket of water, a little bit of ice floating around, and this is liquid nitrogen, yeah? And I don't know if you get that on camera, but it's very cold stuff, and only a fool would do something like this, yeah? It really is liquid nitrogen, yeah? I mean, if you see it on the live stream, it's crazy, crazy stuff. Woo! Madness. We will be doing more lunatic things with liquid nitrogen. So we invite you to join us today and have a lot of fun. Yeah? We understand that graphics and gaming, this is about entertainment. This is not about PowerPoint slides, so we're going to stay as far as we can from PowerPoint. And we're going to have a load of fun here today. OK, so we want to do an ice bucket challenge that other people can participate in. Not everyone has thermos flasks full of liquid nitrogen at minus 192 centigrade. That is seriously cold, actually. But I'm a scientist. I didn't scream, you know. I'm ever so brave. What we would like you to do for our side of the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, we want to raise awareness, like so many people are doing in the US, and make it truly global, because after all, Twitch TV, that's out there everywhere. We would like you to vote. Let me see now. We should be able to pull up the poll. Here we go. There is a Google poll. You should see a link to this at the bottom of your twitch.tv page. And you'll be able to vote on the various participants here. So we'll have our CTO of products. That's Joe Macri. He's a very cool guy, so he would not be intimidated by ice at all. We have John Byrne, who's a general manager here at AMD. He's also a pretty cool guy. And as a general manager, he really, really likes ice and water, I can tell you. We don't need to pay any attention to the guy in the middle. We'll skip straight past that. And whoever has voted for me now, if this is someone from AMD voting for me, there is going to be trouble. Devin Nekichuk, he's one of the product managers here. Product managers absolutely deserve it, yeah? I mean, there's just no question in anyone's mind about someone's voting for me. Oh, and Gabe Gravning. So the point is, you guys are going to own this, yeah? On the live stream. You're a really tough audience. And everyone at home, just pack it in. All right, so we are genuinely going to have the Ice Bucket Challenge at the end of the event. It's not going to be liquid nitrogen because we don't want to kill anyone. Not everyone is a chief gaming scientist. We're going to chuck someone in the pool and throw some water over them, and then we'll invite maybe one or two other people to join in. Who knows? It's a crazy kind of day. And it's super warm here in Austin. It gets up to about 100 in the daytime. So we will have the vote, and it really is the case that whoever wins, unless it's me, yeah, don't vote for the guy in the middle. For God's sake, don't vote for the guy in the middle. Whoever wins will get dumped with an ice bucket of water. No liquid nitrogen. OK, if you didn't see the link, or if you want to go to the link separately, there's a shortcut to it, bit.ly/AMD ice bucket. Everything is good. The loser, or the winner, depends how you see it, will be wet at the end of the program. Visit now, take a look at the contestants, tell your friends. You only get to vote once. Remember, tell your friends, don't vote for Richard. He doesn't deserve it. OK. The third thing that we'll be running in parallel to all this content, we're going to run a charity eBay auction, yep? So I don't know if we can bring the auction up on the live stream, but we will have, at the end of the hour that we're running here, we will have sold off for charity the very first Tonga board. So this is the new GPU that we're going to be introducing today. We're going to sell that. You get the opportunity to be the first guy who has ever bought, first guy or woman who has ever bought this kind of a board, yeah? We'll give you all the details on this later on. In principle, I guess if you've got your phone still on, you may be able to get at it from here. It's mostly for those folks who are not here in the studio. All the proceeds will go to the Child's Play charity for sick and terminally ill kids that deserve great gaming. We will close the bidding, although it looks like it's a 24-hour auction. We will close the bidding at the end of the show. So if you want to bid on it, you've got to bid while this is live. Don't wait for trying to play on a replay of it. To win this, you need to send the money to the charity. This is not for AMD. Send the money to the charity Child's Play. We'll give you the details on that. If you have any difficulty, we can give that. When you have proof that you've made the payment, send it to us, and we will ship the card to you anywhere in the world. How cool is that? Awesome. It is indeed awesome. Okay, next up, let's take a look what we're going to get through today. We're going to take a look at the very next Never Settle game bundle. We're going to have conversations with 3 of the top gaming ISVs in the world, ISVs, independent software vendors, games developers. We love PC games. We're going to announce some new AMD FX CPUs. We have a world-class overclocker in the house who's going to show us how to overclock these new chips to crazy, crazy speeds. We are going to introduce the brand new R9 series GPU. And we're going to tell a few never-heard-before stories from the ATI and AMD history books. So up next, a little bit on how AMD Radeon got its name. And I'm going to take my tasty beverage up to the desk, settle down for part 2.
How was your career during these, 16 years? How did it evolve?
There's some neat firsts, I think, back then. I guess, after Fury Max, I guess that was 99, 2000 or whatever. I guess early 2000, we launched Radeon. And that was interesting. People talk about the Radeon name. How did that happen? I remember we had an external marketing firm, and they came up with the new brand name. And that new brand name was going to be Energy, spelled E-N-E-R-G-I. And me and another director at the time didn't really like that name. We thought that was weird, and so we worked and came up with a name. It was going to be Radium at the time, and get some feedback from that, and it wasn't that positive. And so this other gentleman, he went off, and he was actually with his mom, and his mom said to him, "Hey, how about Radeon?" And that's how the name Radeon got started.
No problem. Excellent. So, thank you. We're back here in the studio. Just want to let everyone know this is the kind of desk you get if you are AMD's chief gaming scientist. Very lovely indeed. Seriously special, even fan-cooled the way it should be. And because I'm the kind of guy that I am, I also have a hotline to AMD Legal where they can call me when anything goes terribly wrong during the show. If I make an announcement that I'm not allowed to make or that kind of stuff, they'll ring the hotline, we'll shut everything down, it'll go very dark in here, and I'll make apologetic noises. Okay. So let's see. Let's start with a look at the Gaming Evolve program. We just saw that little sequence run at the end there, the Gaming Evolve logo, and the question is, what is that? And then we'll connect that to the games developers that we're going to talk to today. And it's pretty straightforward. It's a commitment to the very best in getting the hardware to do the job that it was designed for. It's getting the best out of the CPU, getting the best out of the GPU, making sure that that AMD plus AMD combination really rocks when it comes to playing games. We work with all sorts of key games developers. We've got a fantastic history with games developers. Over this last year, you will have seen us partner with the guys who did Battlefield 4. To me, best game of 2013, really superb stuff. You will have seen us roll out number of demos on the website. If you look at that kind of stuff, you will have seen TressFX that's in Tomb Raider. And you will have seen, I hope, quite a lot of noise about Mantle. Mantle's really one of the huge technological deals of 2014. We introduced it at the end of last year, and then the very first game to use it was Battlefield 4. We have a pretty amazing uptick in adoption by games developers at the moment. We have 7 publicly announced developers who are, between them, working on no less than 20 titles. That's a lot of material that's coming. We have 4 engines. We have things like the Frostbite engine, which is from Dyson, which is now fundamental to a great deal of work that EA are doing. We have the Nitrous engine. We have CryEngine. Everyone knows Crytek. And the Asura engine, too. So there's engines, there's serious games coming along, and along with that, behind the scenes, the stuff that you guys don't usually get to see, we have an amazing 75+ registered developers on this program. So this is a phenomenal piece of adoption. And it's all about making games developers' jobs easier. Yeah? Games developers love this stuff. That's why they come to us and join in with the program. And we are able to produce a beautiful, slick, fast experience out of a gaming PC. So let's take a look, therefore, at a games developer who's doing some work with Mantle. Let's welcome to the stage John Kletzley. I do hope I got his pronunciation right that time. He is the principal graphics developer for Civilization Beyond Earth at Firaxis. John, join me on the stage if you would, please. John, how are you?
Good to see you. Glad to be here. This is quite an event that you have going on here.
This is quite an event, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I got to say, congratulations. First of all, 30 years of graphics innovation. That's quite an achievement.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Deserve applause for that. I've been a fan of AMD, actually, not just the graphics side that we're primarily celebrating today, but the CPU side for many years. In fact, I was involved myself as a hobbyist overclocking the old Athlon Slot A processors.
I remember
back when
those processors.
They looked like cartridges, right, back then. And to overclock them, you had to crack the case open to get the plastic off and actually bridge some connections inside. I did at least 3 or 4 of these processors. I was really into it. In fact, I actually purchased a little dongle from an enthusiast website that you could plug in to make changing that clock multiplier easier. And I still have the dongle in my office even today. Yeah, it definitely voids the warranty when you do that.
It does indeed, does indeed.
Yeah.
But you get some good clock speeds out of it, yeah?
I did. In fact, I still get use out of it today because during interviews, I'll bring it out and ask an interview candidate to try and identify it. Somehow, no one's gotten it right yet. I don't understand why.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd recognize that in person either. Luckily, you haven't got it here to test me. I'm hoping anyway. So why don't you tell us, John, what you're working on at the moment at Firaxis and your own job title?
So I am the principal graphics programmer for Civilization Beyond Earth. And I have to tell you, well, let me talk about Beyond Earth first, because I'm super excited about it. Okay. I want to make sure that everybody here understands about that product. When that product first came up, internally on our development cycle, I specifically asked to be on it, because I was so excited about the idea of civilization and science fiction together. I'm a huge fan of science fiction, and I love civilization games. That's why I worked at the company for over 8 years now. I worked on Civilization 5. I'm very proud of that game. And I love history, but I love science fiction too. So that's what Beyond Earth is. I'm super excited about it.
And it's a game that you're going to be delivering this year, yeah?
That's right. This game is coming out October 24th for PC.
Okay.
So coming out soon. Thank you.
So as the graphics lead, you get to exercise a lot of control here, but I imagine your schedule is always completely mad, yeah?
The schedule can be busy, yes. So as a principal graphics programmer, and I made that title up myself, just because I can. Basically, I was responsible for determining what graphics features technically we needed in order to support the vision for the game the designers had and the artistic vision for the game that the artists on the team had. So I had a lot of responsibility on the technical side of the project.
Okay, cool. So let's take a look at a video of that at the moment, and then we'll dive into a little bit of the technical about what's going on underneath. Okay, very cool. All right. So this is a short snippet from the game that we've seen, but there's going to be a good deal more, obviously, coming up.
Clearly. It's hard to show a game like a Civilization game because the depth of the gameplay is, you play a single game for 40, 50, depending on the way you play, 100 hours. It's a long time. So you can't show all that content, obviously. I think that clip does a very good job of showing some of the combat in a sort of close-in scenario, one of the tactical battles in the game.
So that kind of close-in scenario typically isn't that demanding on a graphics card or on a PC.
Right. It's not that much going on.
But you guys are going to let it zoom out, and that's the kind of situation where Mantle is going to make a difference. And you guys are using Mantle from day one, yeah? You've been involved in this all the way along.
We've been involved from the very beginning. We're super excited about Mantle. As you said, this close-in view, it doesn't necessarily require absolutely the fastest CPU-side graphics, queuing up all the graphics commands. However, that's not the way you're going to play the game the whole time. You're playing a game for 40 hours, you've built an enormous empire. There's a huge amount going on besides just these tactical battles. So we do allow you to zoom out quite far. That was a very close-in view. I would say almost the closest that you can get in the game. So that's the most personal. When you back up, you're seeing your whole empire at once. That's demanding.
That's when it stumbles, yeah?
Yeah, that's when the performance, typically in strategy games and PC, is going to start to go down. When you do that zoom out to kind of overview the world, which you do in gameplay quite a bit.
Okay, and the impact of Mantle there, what kind of thing does that do for the frame rate?
This is exactly the situation where we're incredibly excited about Mantle. In fact, I was showing the game to one of our marketing associates the other day, and he had kind of a quizzical look on his face when he was done playing around with it, because he said it felt weird that you would get in that situation and you would zoom in to do something, and then you would zoom out, and the game didn't slow down at all. It ran just as fast. It was 60 frames a second zoomed in, 60 frames a second zoomed out. He said it was actually disconcerting because as strategy gamers, we're so used to that slowdown when you zoom out, it felt strange. He felt like he wasn't on a PC anymore. We're super excited about that.
You get used to that crufty kind of experience, and when it disappears,
we do.
Things are good. So the cost to you must be fairly significant, yeah? If you're going to do the DX version at the schedule, you join early on, somebody gives you a timetable. Adding Mantle sounds like it would be a significant extra cost, yeah? And I think it's important that we're very clear on what kind of cost it did come out at for you.
I mean, there definitely is cost involved. And it's not an API that's going to hold your hand, and it's not for hobbyists, really.
It's designed for
API, that's right. Yeah. Thank you. That's good. But it is not a significant overhead for a professional graphics team to add to a game. In fact, I did most of the programming. As I said, the design and programming of the graphics features in the game myself, and I also found time to do the vast majority of design and programming for our Mantle backend as well. And we fit it in our production schedule, didn't push us back any, and we're releasing it concurrently with a DirectX 11 version.
Really impressive. So you're going to have a day one Mantle release.
That's right.
We like that very much. Really good. John, if I can summarize, you're clearly a programming god. Really, really impressed with what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for coming along and joining us today.
Pleasure to be here.
Okay. So the next thing we're going to take a look at, we're going to have a little bit of a dig into TressFX, which is one of the effects that came out of the Gaming Evolved program. Let's take a look at that now, and then we'll switch over to talk to the folks from Cloud Imperium.
So of all these gaming technologies, we mentioned TressFX, True Audio, Mantle, Eyefinity. Any favorites there?
Well, they all are pretty neat stuff.
I like TressFX. Because if you look, most games, you're playing a game and the guys have a helmet on or they're bald, right? And that's because hair's tough to do. So I think TressFX had that really move things forward from a realism point of view.
Hair is really just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there are so many possible implementations and expansions of that where in real time things are moving around. Where you're right, you know, up until very recently, a lot of the game world was very static and rigid and simple, like the helmet head stuff. The guy did have hair, it looked like it was just kind of painted on, you know, because that's a lot of horsepower, honestly, to manipulate all those different strands of hair in real time. But that has applications into things like foliage or grass or fields of wheat. There's all sorts of things that can be done there.
1, 2, 1, 7, 1, 7, 1, 7. Okay. So you have the long number there. The expiry date is June 27th, 2017. We'll put a limit of 10,000 on that if we can this time. And tell Roy I'm not bailing him out if he's in jail anymore. Okay, thanks. Good. Good. Sorry about that. Issues with legal as usual. Quick update on where we stand with the ALS challenge. I really think this was a terribly bad idea. It appears. Look, come on, guys. Okay, so I'm the only one who's been seen on camera so far, but hold your voting, yeah, and take the chance to admire these other very obvious candidates. Gabe particularly, who's in a spectacular second place. Not really, I do wish I hadn't suggested that. Okay, but it's good news. We have at least some participation there, so that's great. Please vote for somebody else. It's not too hard to understand. I really don't, you know, I'm English. I don't like cold water. On the eBay auction, we're on $300 plus, so we're getting to move there. That's great. I'm hoping that there will be more enthusiasm shown for that as well. Obviously, it goes at the price it goes. I'd say there's at least $10,000 worth of value there. And I hope that everyone who's voted for me really has pledged $5 for ALS awareness. So get in there and make your donations if you're really going to victimize me. Okay, so next up, we will have Alex Mabry. Alex Mabry, who is the executive producer at Cloud Imperium, working on Star Citizen. Alex, would you join me on stage, please? Hey, Alex, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am pretty good, thank you. Pretty good. Having a fine birthday.
Looks like you're gonna get colder later.
No. You know, early leader, and then I'm going to fade. And John Byrne, where's John? He's really keen on getting wet. Actually, he's going to be voting for himself like a madman from now on. Please.
Well, congratulations on 30 years. That's a big achievement.
Thank you so very much. Yeah.
You know, I've been using AMD products professionally for at least the last 20 years. Been gaming slightly longer than that.
Yeah.
You know, my household, we've got, everybody in the family has their own PC. They've got AMD cards. You know, we've got every console dating back to the Atari 2600. So we can't really get through our day without using an AMD product.
It's the way the world should be. We like that kind of stuff. Great. Okay, so why don't you tell us what you're doing at Cloud Imperium at the moment? Introduce it for those folks who maybe aren't participating right now.
Sure, so we're working on a game called Star Citizen. This is a space simulation from Chris Roberts, who is kind of the pioneer of space sims.
Very well-known guy.
And this is, you know, his opus vision of the best space sim we can possibly make. So it's also unique in that it's crowdfunded. So we have no publisher, no investor, but we have, you know, AAA funding straight from the players. And as a result, we have an open development process. So it's not like a typical development where you have to wait for years before you see the result. We're actually putting content out as soon as we can get it out to players. What's available right now is something called Arena Commander. You can go online and get a ship and actually go in and fly against enemy AI or play against other players, dogfighting your ships.
You really can play this live right now.
You can do this right now. It's in a pre-alpha state.
Okay.
But we keep patching every couple weeks, and we're putting out more content all the time. Building off of that, you'll eventually be able to play a first-person shooter version of the game.
Okay.
You'll be able to play a single-player narrative mission campaign-based storyline. You'll be able to go down on planets. There'll be a persistent universe. So we're really trying to make a universe for everybody to explore.
And you have this cool model that you're crowdfunded and therefore don't have someone who's standing behind you saying, Come on, release this on September the 15th. Come on, come on. You really can build as you need, yeah?
That's right. Absolutely. So, you know, not having that typical development process lets us make the game that we want to make and that our players want us to make.
Okay, well, why don't we take a quick look at the game and then we'll dig into one or two of the technicalities underneath it.
Sure.
Really good. Really good. That is one seriously pretty game. You look at the response here, yeah?
Yeah, we're really aiming for a level of fidelity that hasn't been seen in a game like this before.
You're creating something of great beauty there, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just the ships alone, I mean, many of them are just hundreds of thousands of polygons. So, and it's all based on the Cry engine from Crytek.
Okay.
So we're really aiming to set that bar high, which is why it's important for us to have good hardware underneath to run the game.
And we mentioned that Crytek are one of the guys who have picked up for their engine the use of Mantle. This is something that you're going to be making use of in the game, yeah?
Yeah, this is something that's planned that we're going to be exploring a bit later down the road once we're out of our alpha state.
Okay. Okay, very cool. And your expectations from that?
Well, like I said, we're setting the bar really high, so we need some powerful hardware underneath, and there's nothing better than AMD to help with a smooth experience.
Absolutely. Come on, come on. Okay. So I think we're very much looking forward to getting hold of the Mantle version. You've got some kind of in-your-pocket AMD-specific material that's going to be coming up in Star Citizen 2?
Oh, yes. We have a specific ship for AMD.
Very nice.
And it'll be a single-seat racer fighter, so it's really slick.
Okay. Some special gaming there just for AMD.
Yes.
We like that very much. Okay.
All right.
All right. Alex, I want to say thank you very much for joining us on stage. Really appreciate what you're doing at Cloud Imperium. Fantastic piece of software and beautiful, beautiful looking game. Next up, you mentioned you had a 2600, an Atari 2600 at one point, and it's something I used to game on all those years ago as well. Let's take a quick look at the history of the Atari 2600 back from the early 1980s.
But looking back at 30 years of gaming now, and getting close to 40 years with AMD.
45 years.
45 years. Excuse me. Yeah, that's it's a lot of T-shirts. It's a lot of memories.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we were talking about AMD in even older products. Oh, the Atari cartridges.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Atari 2600.
Yeah. There's some Atari 2600 cartridges that have AMD chips in them, and they were called.
That's right. ROM, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, bit slicers.
Yes.
Which I had to Google this. I had to
before.
Google this, but it's a type of chip that just addresses like a string of ones and zeros, like a slice of the ones and zeros. And if you have a really big string, you slice off chunks and then just pair a bunch of these chips together.
Yeah.
So
parallel computing for some of the first time.
So yeah, since the 70s.
And I don't think a lot of people know that.
No.
And appreciate that AMD's been in consoles since really that first, at least the first iconic one that everybody tends to think of. I know I had one in my little library.
So here we are announcing a brand new console, the Atari 2600. Legal will kill me for that.
And you will.
Very cool. Okay. All right, good. So the Atari 2600 was a pretty cool piece of hardware back in 1985, and we actually have a cartridge here in my hands. I'm just going to settle it on the desk so that it doesn't move around. If we can get the camera in close on this. This is a game called Beanie Bopper, if I get the name right. Come on, bring the zoom in really close. I promise not to move it. And you can see from the printing on the cover there that it's got a spectacular 4 colors. You get not only red and white and black, but you get a little bit of mauve in there too. And you can imagine the excitement of the game's designers when they were putting this together. It was going to have no fewer than 2 rectangles, as well as a line and a triangle on screen at the same time. Fantastic piece of stuff. Inside this, the reason why we're showing you this 2600 cartridge is this actually contains a chip that AMD made back in 1985. It's got a staggering, hard to believe this, but it's got a staggering 2 kilobytes of memory in it. 2 kilobytes of memory built by AMD. Yeah, 2. Count them. 1, not just 1, but 2. An extraordinary piece of gaming history. Hang on to that number 2, because it'll come up a little bit later on. No big surprise, 2's not that rare a number. Okay, so a couple of updates, one of which makes me nervous. Apparently, I'm past 500 votes on the Google poll now. Come on. Can we put some tension into this? Can we get someone from AMD to go out and make sure they turn on all the machines around the office and vote for John? He really, really doesn't like being dry this length of time. Gabe, also wildly enthusiastic about being wet. Well, at least we got people who are joining in, even if it's really quite bad news as far as I'm concerned. And we have beaten $500 apparently on the ALS challenge. And that will be because AMD is pledging $500 as well. So we're looking at some good donations. I guess if people put in $5 a vote, as I was asking, then we're actually on about $3,000. And that can only be a good thing for charity there. Okay, so next up, let me see. We've talked a little bit about something as wildly exciting as Beanie Bopper from 1985. If only we could play it now, yeah? If only we could play it now. Let's take a look with Gabe Gravening. And I tell you, Gabe is just way too dry. Yeah, way too dry. Let's bring Gabe to the stage, and he can take us through some of the things that. So Gabe is going to show us some of the things that crazy folks are doing with AMD hardware at the moment.
Yeah.
Product manager at AMD, am I right?
Yeah, product marketing. So thanks for having me, Richard. And I want to show you guys some cool stuff. Do we have any builders and modders out there?
Yeah. We do.
All right. Well, hey, I'm going to show you some pretty cool mods that we have up here. A lot of these built with our latest Kaveri processor, which actually really makes a great DIY small form factor PC, other sort of mod chip, because it has, of course, combined our x86 cores with R7 class Radeon graphics, plus all the other features like true audio, support for Mantle, and a number of other cool things. So we can just show you some what our fans have done here. So let's take a look at the first one. So this is the hockey table. This is pretty cool. This is a headless system, so no monitor on this one. It's we got the PC is actually built into the base. Actually, one of the new features of our latest 3 Kaveri chips is a configurable TDP, which allows you to actually set whether you want 45 watt or 65 watt. So in a closed environment like this, pretty cool feature. So the modder on this actually wrote a little program and has the teams playing here. We got Montreal versus Toronto, playing here, and I know. Remember, we have a big office up in Toronto. So who do you think is going to win this match? Montreal? Who thinks Montreal's going to win? Toronto? Who thinks Toronto's going to win the match? All right. So that's hockey table. All right. Up next, we've got the jukebox. Now this is a pretty sweet machine.
This is a real working jukebox?
This is a real working jukebox. It actually has an amp, a pretty good amp inside. There's big speakers on the sides. You got your nice screen here. So this one is a great mod. Very clever. Reminds me of the True Audio technology that we have in Kaveri. So good feature plug there. All right, so that's that one. Next, we've got the popcorn maker. So this one is actually is working Popcorn Maker, as you can see here. The mod is inside here. You've got the screen. So perfect for a home theater PC or anything else. So that one's great.
This popcorn really was made by this machine last night.
I think we made it a day ago. Or not so good. What goes great with popcorn? Beer. Who likes beer? This one we call Keg-Vary. Keg-Vary, you get it. So this one is a great mod. This one's really cool. We put a touch screen on this one and have an app here that actually shows the temperature and the fan speed and everything else. So, and of course, this one you can use some of the overclocking capabilities of Keg-Vary since you got a lot of extra cooling here. And of course,
well, you know what? We can.
Of course, it works. So, cheers. Thank you.
Hey, good. Thank you. Wild and crazy things to do with Keg-Vary chips. I never expected to see a hockey game, a headless hockey game playing on a Keg-Vary, but there you go. All sorts of diverse use. Some of them completely pointless, some of them spectacularly fun stuff to have around. I love this jukebox. This would be a beautiful thing to have in a club or a cafe, something like that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. Okay, so next we're going to take a look at a little video by Scott Wasson. He's from the Tech Report. He's going to wish us a happy birthday. And then we will have a look at Athlon XP, obviously a key part in gaming history for AMD. Let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Scott Wasson. I'm editor-in-chief of the Tech Report at techreport.com. I've been covering AMD and ATI products for about 15 years. And there have been a lot of good products during that time, so picking a single favorite is a tough thing to do. But I have to choose, so I think I'm going to go with the Radeon 9700. That was the original DirectX 9 graphics card. They were first to market, and DirectX 9 brought us some new capabilities, especially floating point color formats for graphics, and it just allowed a realism that didn't exist in games before then, and now we sort of take it for granted. But that was the start of everything. One of the best demos of that capability was a natural light demo, which you can see here on the screen. It was originally rendered offline and just sort of as a demonstration of what could be done with graphics. When the 9700 came along, ATI was able to animate that in real time on the Radeon 9700 and get some amazing realistic effects. And you know, that product really changed everything. We've moved forward since then, but I'm not sure there's been a single product at one time that has as much impact as that one did.
I remember going back even farther when it was the Athlon XP era, and you know that was an era of really simple overclocking. You just raised the front side bus and changed the multiplier and you were done. But the trick back then was all the chips were laser cut, the overclocking chips, right?
Yeah.
So there were these little pits on the package. So in order to get over that and enable overclocking, you had to fill in the pits with whiteout and then connect the bridges that enabled overclocking with windshield repair, like the windshield defroster repair stuff. You buy it for like 20 bucks from an auto store. So there I am, I'm like 15 years old, I'm huddled over this chip. My dad is really proud of me. My mom's terrified of what I'm doing with this thing. And I'm just taping off these little tiny squares, filling them in with whiteout, and then brushing over them and hoping that I didn't screw anything up. Because if you connect the bridges, your processor's toast, right?
It was it works or it didn't. Yeah,
it either works or it doesn't. Like,
truly a
you
moment
put that
of
thing
truth,
in, you hope it boots, because otherwise you just toasted your processor.
No, it's no problem. They're totally buying it. Yeah, I can tell you, I've got them all fooled. They all believe it's a real phone. Hi. All good. Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Right. Next up, we're going to have another chat with a games developer. We're going to bring in Frank Witz from DICE. He is the creative director of the Frostbite engine. I'm sure you all know about the Frostbite engine 3 that powers Battlefield 4 and a whole bunch of other games from EA. Please join me in welcoming Frank Witz. Hey, Frank.
Pleasure to be here.
Frank, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Boy, start off with a congratulations to AMD on 30 years of innovation, graphics innovation. It's amazing when I think that, you know, that's basically the history of the evolution of graphics and computer animation all the way into video games today. AMD has been right there, undergirding, providing the hardware and the technology to make all of the cool stuff that we try to do come true.
Pretty fair summary, actually, isn't it? Yeah, when we started, we were doing full colors and hardly any pixels, and these days we're doing something dangerously close to photorealism.
It's amazing.
Okay. Okay, so you have arguably the coolest job title here. You're the creative director for the Frostbite engine. I'm hoping that there'll be, maybe we should have put you in the poll with a cool job title like that. You might have been able to get past me. I'm told that I'm still leading, but Gabe is catching up. So come on, Gabe. Come on, Gabe.
Well, actually,
come on, Gabe.
It is hot outside, but I'm glad I'm not in the poll. So yeah, creative director for Frostbite. That actually is a pretty cool title because it's actually a new title that I kind of helped define myself when they hired me onto the team because, as you guys know, Frostbite's been growing, powered Battlefield, but when we realized in EA the potential of the engine, we saw that if it was going to be successful, we would need to figure out how to use it to solve a wide variety of problems across a lot of different genres of games.
It is very rare for an internally developed engine like this to be as versatile as the Frostbite engine is proving at the moment. You have other games shipping on it which are not first-person shooters, yeah? Like Need for Speed?
Yeah, we have Need for Speed. We had both Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. Now we've got Dragon Age coming out. We've got Mass Effect on the way. Plants vs. Zombies. We have PGA Golf coming on it, complete with Battlefield levels, powered by Frostbite, which is going to be very cool. I always wanted a golf cart with a rocket launcher. I thought that would and of course there's games beyond that that are in the works.
Which you're going to tell us about now. Obviously you're going to break the NDA because this is just between you and me, Frank. It's okay, don't worry about that.
Well, I guess I could. Everyone knows that we have announced the Star Wars franchise, which is going to be very cool.
And that is going to be powered by the same engine?
Yes, the Frostbite engine is going to be powering the Star Wars games, and of course, underlying it all is Mantle, which makes it possible for our designers to just pull the stops and go for broke.
It's true. You guys are arguably the most important developer to us in these early stages of Mantle, yeah? Having committed so hard to Mantle and delivered that in January this year, that was a really spectacular achievement.
Well, it was great seeing Johan Anderson, who is our render architect and lead technical designer, one of the architects of Frostbite. He was talking about it for a long time, and it took me a while to catch on to what he was talking about, that okay, a low-level API that gives you access to the incredible power of the AMD hardware, but as an artist, I'm going to, well, okay, how does that work for me? Frostbite provides a layer of abstraction on top of that, but so through Frostbite, I get the power of Mantle giving me access to the hardware to do stuff that's just mind-blowing.
Very cool, very cool. One of the games you're working on at the moment, the new Dragon Age game. You want to take us through that?
Yeah, Dragon Age Inquisition looks really cool. We've been really excited about that. It's in the fine tradition of the BioWare games where it's a story-driven, character-driven game in the universe of Dragon Age. In this case, you get to play the part of an Inquisitor who finds himself where this giant rift is torn between worlds and through which hordes of demons are coming. And somehow you've survived that initial event and have to gather a team of heroes to go on a quest, figure out why this happened, hopefully close the rift, save the day. Monsters, demons, dragons, characters, a giant open world that you can explore as you like. So
very
all
cool.
Powered by Frostbite and AMD underneath it.
Very cool, very cool. Well, words are cheap. Why don't we take a look at the video and see if you guys match our expectations, yeah?
You don't like my
no,
phraseology here?
But we got to prove this stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
Tell me, where is your maker now? Call him. Call down his wrath upon me. You cannot, for he does not exist.
They are under the command of the Venatori, in service to something called the Elder One.
The Templars come to kill you.
If we are to withstand this monster, we must control the battle.
More pain this time. The Elder One still comes. You are a mistake. You should never have existed.
With the Herald! For your lives! For all of us!
It ends here! Bow before your new god and be spared.
Really good. Really good. Thank you so much for coming to show us that. So this is coming this year?
Yes, it's being released November 18th. We're taking a little extra time to put the polish that it deserves on it.
Yep, attention to quality is an important detail in the process here. You can't just stick to a timetable. And this is going to ship with Mantle on day one. Is that the hope?
That's right. That's one of the coolest things about Mantle is that it's basically under the hood in Frostbite. So all of the games that so choose, which is going to be all of our AAA titles, will be able to take advantage of AMD's Mantle right out of the gate.
That is a fantastic place for us to be. Ladies and gentlemen, let us thank Frank Witz for coming all the way from Stockholm in Sweden. Frank, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for being here. Fantastic piece of work. Lovely job title too. Love it. All right. So we have seen some really beautiful software that's in the pipeline now. Let's take a look at another congratulatory video. Chris Angelini from Tom's Hardware is now going to speak to us, and we'll have a look at the AMD FX. A little bit of history there before we come back. Thank you, Frank.
My pleasure.
I'm Chris Angelini, and I've been writing about technology and PC hardware for the last 16 years, including most of AMD's desktop-oriented products. There are a couple that I remember most fondly. One of those was the All-in-Wonder 9700, which actually came from ATI back in 2002. It was based on the R300 GPU, and it included a number of multimedia features that really suited my life as a college student, so I used that regularly. And then about a year after that, AMD sent me a fully configured system with its Athlon 64 FX51 CPU. Of course, that was AMD's first 64-bit processor, and it had an blazing fast integrated memory controller and an unlocked ratio multiplier for overclocking. Between those two components, I had one of the fastest PCs of anybody I knew.
Okay, so I don't think you need to worry about it. I could tell them that they're on Mars. These guys will believe it. No problem at all. Okay, we are back in the studio, and we're going to now do a live satellite link. So we're going to push technology maybe dangerously hard here. We're going to do a live satellite link to not the planet Mars, obviously. We're going to use the planet Neptune here because it's seriously cold. We're going to go and take a look at some overclocking. We're going to jump to, by live satellite link, to Joe Macri, who's CTO of products. Joe, can you hear me? Can we get you in this? Joe, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Sorry, we have some terrible lag here. The connection of however many, I don't know, 15 light minutes or so is causing us problems, but AMD can solve those problems. Joe, take it from here. Tell us a little about overclocking and who are you as well? And why are you so dry and warm?
Well, it's, you know, I'm here in Austin. Kind of via 8-foot link. But you know, my job at AMD is to work with all the engineers and the business teams to really define all of our products. And I couldn't tell you the funnest job in the world. You know, we build the best gaming products, the best CPUs. We have, you know, servers. You know, basically it's a plethora of products that are, you know, every day it just makes me drive fast. And, you know, when you hear about a 30th, you know, anniversary, it always makes you look back a little bit. You know, how'd you ever get here? How'd I ever get here? And, you know, my interaction with gaming started back in '97. You know, a bunch of us were working at Silicon Graphics, and 3 colleagues decided to create this company called Ardex. And the goal of Ardex was to build all the gaming hardware for the Nintendo GameCube. You know, we did the full system for us, and I was lucky enough to get invited along and join that company, and it was a ton of fun. I mean, Nintendo was, you know, a real mover in this industry. You know, and when you're having fun, you don't think it could get better, but it did. You know, this great company called ATI, they acquired Ardex. And that brought us into the big battle, the battle of, you know, consumer graphics. And this was a total fist fight, you know, bam, bam, bam. It just, you know, and it hasn't ended. You know, we've, you know, had a bunch of companies back then. Today there's 2 of us that are really socking it out. Our first product we did with ATI was that 9700, you know, wide memory bus, 256 bits. It just, you know, kicked butt like nothing ever did. You know, really, you know, put ATI as a, you know, as the leader of graphics. And, you know, we just kept fighting from there on, and, you know, drive 100 miles an hour into work every day. You just can't get there fast enough. And, you know, one day we woke up and it got better. And AMD purchased ATI. And for an engineer, that really was a game changer, right? You know, at ATI, we had the greatest graphics hardware, multimedia capability, all kinds of good stuff. But now AMD brought in the CPU, the system capability, and it really changed how we thought about the problem. You know, we could think of new architectures, come up with ways of the CPU and GPU working together, you know, that you just couldn't do if you only had a piece of the pie. And we've done it. We've created something we call HSA, the Heterogeneous System Architecture. It takes graphics and CPUs and bring them together into a single architecture that's easy to program. This architecture is going to drive us for the next 30 years. And that's what's really exciting. You know, what you see today, what we've given you over the past, we're going to blow you out of the water. You know, it's just not going to be immersive. It's going to be real. You know, when you close your eyes, imagine the future, you're not imagining what I'm imagining. We are going to just drive you nuts. And this is, you know, just a wonderful, wonderful day. You know, to my left, if we're going to celebrate, let's celebrate with a couple of cool things. We've got some new products. And then we have overclocking. Overclocking is the race car drivers of the gaming world, right? They push the hardware to no end. Now, here's my buddy here, Brian, a.k.a. Choop. Say hello to the audience.
How's it going?
Cool. This guy. He's part of the AMD overclocking team. You know, we have some folks out in Finland, some real folks they've been working hard over the last 48 hours. Brian's been here in Austin. He's had to suffer with a little higher temperature, so they're battling it out, see who can go and get the highest score. You know, before we dive into the details there, let's talk a little bit about our new products. You know, we have the 8320E and the 8370E. The E stand for that these are, you know, they're lower TDP products. You know, everybody doesn't need the biggest case. Some people need smaller form factors. They run fast. They're perfect for gaming. 4 gigahertz, 4.3 gigahertz, so very fast processors. All these guys are 8 cores, so you've got more than enough capability to drive latest gaming. Mantle takes advantage of all the cores. You've heard a lot about Mantle, how quick you can bring a game to it. These things will really make Mantle fly. Then we have the 8370. This guy here, 4.3 gigahertz still, but it's 125 watt capable. These guys are 95. You use that extra power, it allows us to stay at that boost frequency longer, get a little bit bigger of enclosure to take advantage of it, and this thing is just going to rock. And then this is my favorite. This isn't new. It's been out, 9590, 5 gigahertz. This is the water-cooled version. I love water cooling. You know, keeping things quiet is neat, keeping things stable. You know, we always like to treat our chips a little nice. He, on the other hand, doesn't treat anything nice. I mean, he's taking things and doing things to our hardware that, you know, in some ways make an engineer cry, but with a smile on their face. So this isn't a normal hobby. How the hell did you get into this?
I got into this because of gaming. I remember I used to game. I think one of my first games was like RTCW. One of my first processors was, I think, the Thunderbird T-Birds back in the day. And That was before we even did the bridges that they were talking about earlier. But wanted to get more speed out of it. The games weren't playing as good as we wanted, so we overclocked them, and it was free power. You know, you could run at speeds that didn't even exist yet. You couldn't buy the model, so.
Wild, wild. I mean, this is not your mama's motherboard. It doesn't look like anything you find in a normal house. What have you done to this thing in order to get it to, you know, to go wild?
This thing has actually been waterproofed. It's sealed right now. As you can see, there's frost over all the chips right now. It actually overclocks better when it's colder. And in fact, we just hit 8 gig while you were talking to me. I managed to hit 8 gig. The screen is locked right now, but we're going to see if we can get it a little bit more stable after that. These new chips are definitely clocking better than the previous versions.
We work hard for you. There's no doubt about it. And then he's getting almost twice the speed that, you know, we designed him for. Tell us a bit about the team. You know, the team is, you know, it's distributed today. You guys are always trying to push each other. What have you been able to achieve? You know, what are the other guys up to?
I believe I just heard that the other guys have managed to break our previous record, and they are up to 8720 and maybe trying to push harder.
That. I mean, we're both race car guys. We love cars, but I got to say, that is fast. That's beyond fast.
That would be a new world record, beating and besting our previous record by at least 300 megahertz.
Yeah.
Without the use of LHE this time.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, what we're trying, you know, this is, you know, it's a little bit exotic, but it's not so exotic that you can't do this back at your own home. All right, this is, you know, relatively cost effective. You know, I would definitely be careful, but, you know, go out there and see if you could beat us. You know, we want the record, we always do, but if you guys get it, if our fans get it, that would even make us happier. Richard, back to you.
Back to me in the studio, yeah? Well, that was not the most convincing of satellite links. I apologize for that. But it did make a good part of the show. Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Brian. Okay, so next we're going to take a look at the overclocking video, a little bit of internal discussion about how we've supported games developers in their overclocking, games players in their overclocking enthusiasm. And then we are going to go across to Roy Taylor, VP of Channel Sales, live from Hollywood. So let's look at the video first.
I have to think back. It's the first computer that I built. Like, yeah, I had a paper route. I was like 14 or 15 years old that saved, you know, tons of, shaped it into a bucket. It was the year 2000. I remember this. I was sitting, you know, on a school bus with my buddy at the time, and we were talking about the great PCs that we were going to build. Let's see. At the time, it was an Athlon 800. That was my gaming rig for years. I upgraded to a Thunderbird 1100. That chip overclocked like crazy, and it's still one of my favorite chips ever. You know, it came out of the box at like 1.4, and I got it up to 2.3. So
that's awesome. Like the V-core, you could push that thing. It was like,
just,
you know,
out of this world. And I had this horribly loud, it's called the Alpha Pal 8045. It was a heatsink at the time, and it didn't really matter how loud it was. It was like Dustbuster territory, but it didn't matter. Like, clock speed was everything, and I was 15 years old and gaudy and didn't care. So it was awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of more fun. Yeah, so that's why you take off your catalytic converter off your car.
And what's been interesting to see is that the overclocking in those days, while it was core to the enthusiasts and how they thought about AMD, it was still something that was a bit in the margins, if you will. That AMD kind of engaged that community. Now, you know, it's a core part, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just when we started bringing in, you know, liquid nitrogen and having an opportunity to push a system, you know, and the bells and whistles of having the liquid nitrogen smoke, you know, the condensation coming off of it, and having, you know, having your memory timings just so.
You know, there was a time when you were engineering a chip, you didn't think about, okay, well, if a user puts this under liquid nitrogen, what's going to happen? And now it's just kind of given, right? This is something we take into account because you know people are going to do it.
Hi, this is Roy. Roy, talking to you from Hollywood, California. I'm thrilled to be here. You know, I'm a huge gamer. You can see me on Battlefield, and you can try and get my dog tags. My name is Leonidu on Battlefield, where I often play with the Fragging Frogs from PC Perspective. And it's just a thrill for me to be part of this because I've been gaming for a long time. As you can see, I'm a little bit older. My very first actually PC was an Amstrad with an AMD 386, and I've been gaming non-stop since then. So it's really, really fantastic for me to be part of this, and I love to be part of the community. Part of my role is to bring you great products at great prices, and you know, I was very, very keen on introducing the FX 9590, and since I do play Battlefield, I was aware of load times, so that's why I pushed for us to also get faster memory and to also introduce Radeon SSDs. And anything I can do to bring faster, better products to market, I just love to do. But I also realize that many of you are on a budget, and so I'm pleased to announce and to tell you all that we're going to reduce the pricing on FX this month. We're going to bring the FX 9590 down in price considerably. And we're going to introduce some new versions of the FX range to run at 95 watt. And we're also going to be introducing something new called a 6-pack, where we're going to put 6 processors in a box for those of you who like to build PCs for friends and to get a discount when you do so. We're going to continue to do everything we can for gamers. Anything and everything we can do for you, we're going to continue to do. We know that back to school is coming up, and so we're going to do a special promotion for back to school to bring our FM2 motherboards for our APU processors down. And so you're going to see at your favorite e-tailers and retailers discounts on those as well. So I encourage all of you to try and come and kill me on Battlefield and to get my dog tag whenever you can. So thank you for everybody for coming in. For all of you that are part of Red Team, I encourage you to be part of the community. Please do come onto Twitter and join in our conversation and join in the forums and be part of Red Team. Please do join in with us. And something bad is coming. I heard this ALS thing, and I've been told I'm going to be part of the ALS challenge. Oh, no! Oh, my God! Oh, my God. And with that, thank you, Sam Tarani. Back to you in Austin. Thank you.